guys. I'm very thrilled and happy that Nandita has joined us today for this special session on marketing and where she talks about her journey through the years. So, Nandita, thank you so much for making the time. For our users, Nandita leads marketing for Trusted Family. Trusted Family is a technology platform for family offices, and it's used by the leading family offices in the world. But Nandita, before actually I give a background to the users, why don't we hear it right from you? Why don't you walk us through your background, right from where you grew up, where did you study, what were the things that influenced you while growing up, etc., etc.
Sure. First of all, thank you, Aman. Thanks for having me here. It's great to speak to your audience and the community that you guys are building. Hey, everyone. My name is Nanditha. I originally come from Delhi, where I was born and raised. I did my initial schooling there, and then thanks to my parents and their adventurous careers, we moved around a fair bit. And at the moment, my family lives in Chennai. I personally live in Brussels, in the heart of Belgium, in Western Europe, and as Aman mentioned, I currently lead marketing and demand generation at a B2B tech scale-up called Trusted Family. Trusted Family is a next generation online governance platform that was specifically designed and built for multi-generational family businesses, family offices, and boards of large private entities. And between Brussels, London, and New York, we are close to about 30 people. A fairly remote sort of scaled product-focused company, but big ambitious plans for the future. But before Trusted Family, my journey has also been very interesting. I did my engineering in Bangalore, right after which I moved to the UK to do my master's in international business. So I studied at Warwick Business School. And after Warwick, I hung around a little bit in the UK, sort of finding my calling and finding my place in the world and figuring out what it is that I really wanted to do as a business grad, And a couple of stints here and there, I knew for a fact that I did want to return home. So I came back to my family in India, and I started my career first with Wipro Technologies, and they signed me on as a fresh management grad for pre-sales as part of their telecom business unit. And I did learn a lot, and I have to be honest, my first experience was incredible. And from there, it was again, it was a phase in my career where I was still trying to figure out what is it that I want to do, because from pre-sales, the next best option that was available to me was business development. So I did go into biz dev, and I tried a bit of that. But it was also around that time that the whole startup boom and the startup space was really evolving, and the bug also hit some of us in India. And that's when I started really thinking about what is the kind of culture and the kind of workplace environment that I want to sort of evolve in. And that's when, funnily, I was actually in Cognizant at that point in time, and one of my mentors reached out to me, and he offered me a position to sort of champion the business development for Asia for an up-and-coming seed invested startup from the Valley, and this was called Central. And that was, I think, a big opportunity that landed in my lap, to be honest. And I think I was brave enough to take the risk and grab it at the right time. So Central is basically a generation privacy and risk platform that was built on a fair bit of automation and analytics and intelligence. So, the company was just about 18 months after product commercialization, and we were taking it to the market. So I was working very closely with a very small focus group of senior executives to build this out in Asia. And that was very, very interesting. And I think from there, I realized that my true calling is to work in small niche, hyper growth sort of startups and scale up kind of environments, because that really challenges me as a professional, but also snaps me out of my comfort zone as often as I'd like it. And that was also a bit of a tipping point, I'll be honest, because by the end of that tenure, I also knew that sales slash business development wasn't really something that I wanted to build my career out of,
Right.
and that's when I was introduced to the real idea of marketing and marketing for startups, and that's when Freshworks happened for me. And again, that was a blessing in disguise, because my time at Freshworks has been one of the most phenomenal work experiences that I look back and I cherish, because just the breadth and the the horizons that it actually opened up for me, not just
Yep.
in India but also more internationally, more globally. I got the chance to work in very new markets like the UK, Australia, understand Germany, Middle East and Africa. And so it really
Yep.
opened up. Like I said, it was this Pandora's box that was open in front of me, and I was like this little kid, in a candy store. Which one to
Yeah.
did it all. So I was like that.
Yeah.
And the good thing with Freshworks was the team was also so flexible, that I
Hmm.
got to dabble in various different aspects of marketing. So I started with content, content creation, content strategy, content dissemination, and then slowly moved into, campaigns, which is more like the performance
Yeah.
marketing. How do you devise a campaign? What does it mean? Who are you selling it to? What channel should you be running it on? How do you actually measure the performance and the impact of those channels? And then how do you use that information back to make sure that it's optimized well and rerun, sort of rinse and repeat kind of
Right.
thing. And then after Freshworks, it was another a little bit of a big surprise in my life, because I knew for a fact that I think maybe that was also a second tipping point of sorts, because that's when I realized how much I loved working for international markets.
Hmm.
Just the sheer expanse of information, the cultural diversity, and the globalization as a mindset that comes in when you're working with different
Yeah.
cultures and different languages, different markets, different regions. So I knew that this was
Yeah.
the next thing for me. I knew it right then. And
Yeah.
that's when Dixa happened. And Dixa is a very up and coming, very very strong growth focused scale up in the whole conversational customer engagement space, sort of like a
Hmm.
direct competitor to Freshworks. And I joined what was then called the growth team. So it was like growth and
Yeah.
marketing, and I joined as a growth marketing manager.
Hmm.
And my stint in Dixa was also super interesting. We were based in Copenhagen, and of course, besides all the cultural nuances, it was a very very international workplace. It was amazing to just work alongside people that came from extremely different and diverse backgrounds than mine. And the
Yep.
best thing was how competitive and how driven everybody was, right from the CEO
Yeah.
to some of the team members, even to interns who used to work for us. I think it was one of the most driven, one of the most goal focused, ambitious cultures I had seen.
Right.
And after Dixa, here I am at Trusted Family in Brussels. So that's a big. It's been something of a learning curve for me,
Yeah.
and I think in this past 2 years, almost now, I've also done
Yeah.
a bit of focused learning for upskilling myself.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
I recently completed a marketing leadership masterclass certification from Lyric Business School, which is one of the top B schools here in Western Europe. And previously, I also
Hmm.
finished a technology entrepreneurship certification from Harvard X. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background.
Wow, that's a fascinating journey. I heard so many countries, and it's a thing of envy for some person, a travel enthusiast like me. So many work ability to work in so many countries. It's just fascinating. And I could also partially resonate, with your tipping point number one when you mentioned when you moved to a startup company. And I personally had a similar experience
Mm,
when I moved from Capital One. I was working in analytics and consulting,
okay.
and then I moved to a startup, and then the entire world of product marketing opened up to me. And, I was working in that small focus team. Even I had a wonderful experience. But yeah, so I would actually like to take go back to that point in your career. There was one thing which a lot of our users might also would want to know is you have worked with companies like Wipro and Cognizant and then moved to a fast-paced startup that too based out of Silicon Valley, where the startup ecosystem is much much more mature. So what were your core differences in working style or in your learning or in your professional growth? So what were the key differences between the two environments? Say a
Um,
corporate or a big startup.
I think the first most obvious difference that hit me was how lean the structures are. I think that was, and I absolutely love that about startups. Like even at Dixa or even at Freshworks, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I was, for instance, at Freshworks, I was a marketing specialist to start with,
Right.
uh, and that never stopped me from reaching out to the C-level executives in the office and walk into their room to talk about stuff, to bounce off ideas, to discuss strategies, to show them a presentation, to just brainstorm on something that
Yeah.
mattered to me. And I would be assured of a sounding board. I'm not saying
Yeah.
large companies that does not exist, but I think
Mm-hmm.
large companies there is some sort of a hierarchical structure that somehow
Right.
it understates the need for anything else. So I think like I said, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I think it's far less. And also the other thing that I personally like about working in startups is
Mm-hmm.
how quick they are on their feet. That's just me as a personality.
Mm.
I like to bring an idea to life as quickly as possible. Even if I'm
Yeah.
failing, I fail fast. I will get back up on my feet. I want to experiment. I want to see what's working. But more importantly, I want to
Yeah.
see what's not working. And I want to know that sooner than later. So the minute I know
Yeah.
it, I know that this can be scratched off my list. So the next thing and the next thing, and that's just how I like to work. And I also realized that was also one of my strengths early on. And
Mm-hmm.
then, and when I realized that, I found that as a great match to the whole startup culture and the environment, because most of my previous
Right.
startups have been like that. There has been a
Mm-hmm.
fair bit of emphasis on experimentation and the whole fail fast kind of a model, and
Right.
I absolutely enjoy that. But I think that is not for everyone too. It is for people who enjoy working in that sort of a rapid experimental sort of mode. But that's
Yeah.
me. So that's not maybe something for everybody. um,
Mm-hmm.
the other thing I also like is, which is my most favorite thing about working for startups and scale ups, is I could be doing one thing today. Like I could be head of marketing, right? And
Right.
and obviously that has a certain set of responsibilities that come with the job role, right?
Yeah.
However, with small, very niche focused startup like a Trusted Family, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
you also have the flexibility and the sort of the open minded culture to
Yeah.
dabble into other complementary areas of the business,
Mm.
either for your own personal learning or to try and do something new. I think
Yeah.
that's flexibility I absolutely love, because that to be honest, in my last 5 years alone, that
Mm.
flexibility has helped me learn a lot more on the job than just the boundaries of my responsibility in that position. So for me, that flexibility is super important, and I don't think you have that flexibility in large companies, or at least back in the
Yeah.
day, I didn't feel that I had that kind of openness to be able to experiment and try new things.
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think that's one of the key things for us as client facing, teams also, but specifically for
Yeah.
marketers today, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the whole SaaS business, the industry is so complex today. Like so much is happening, and I
Yeah.
feel like there is something for you to learn from all the other cross functions that you might not really work with. Like there is
Yeah.
something for you to learn constantly from customer success and the way they're running things, or product,
Right.
or sales, of course, because we work very very closely with sales, but
True.
partnerships, for instance. So there's something to learn in every function or every department of a SaaS business today, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And that flexibility, like I said, I get only in smaller startups and smaller organizations.
True. True. And actually, I could, while you were talking and you mentioned about how you like to be iterative, learn to get your mistakes upfront. So these are some of the characteristics I would say even helpful for a marketeer per se. When we are running our campaigns, we would like to identify the winning ads or the winning copies upfront rather than getting them known sooner. So it's always better to make the mistakes sooner rather than later.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So maybe, you mentioned that you were in a business development role. So when you transitioned towards marketing, how was the journey like? What were the things that you had to learn or rather unlearn as you moved from one role to another?
Well, in all honesty, I didn't have to unlearn anything because I felt like a lot of those tricks and nuances of biz dev actually helped me in understand marketing. Because
Right.
I literally moved from a direct customer selling sort of a role to
Mm-hmm.
going like maybe a step back to thinking about what's the right way to package it for them. So when I
Right.
was doing that business development role at Central, it was
Mm-hmm.
honestly, when I think back now, in retrospect, I think it was like a double role for me. It was also a bit of marketing because I didn't have any marketing person then. We were a 10
Okay.
member startup, and it
Mm.
was my mentor and I who were trying to do the packaging, building the value proposition, building the pitch presentation, and actually pitching it, even including doing the product demo, by the way. So for me, it was
True.
like it almost made me, like I said, that was a big tipping point because I think it made me in some way jack of most trades. So I could understand the pain point of the person I was talking to on the other side of the table. I could build the
Mm-hmm.
pitch and the value proposition that made sense to the person, and I could eventually pitch it too. So I did manage to
Yeah.
finish the whole circle of trust, the whole life
Yeah.
cycle activities there, including
The
including, I said, the demo, doing the product demo, walking them
yeah.
through the features of what the platform would do for them, and of course then handing
Mm-hmm.
them over to somebody to do the onboarding and the installation. But yeah,
Right.
for me, I didn't have to unlearn anything. In fact, what I did learn was a lot more, like in terms of the nuances of understanding, like really taking a step back,
Mm-hmm.
understanding what's in it for the person that we are taking this to. So often when we say, and I learned this from one of my previous mentors. I think while I'm a B2B marketer, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
us are, I think at the end of the day we're all B2C marketeers but trapped in B2B
Right.
body. And the reason I say that
Yeah.
is, we say B2B and it's business to business, but at the end of the day, the business is also composed of people, and people
Right.
like with values and emotions that you are actually selling to, right? So I think it's really about
Right.
understanding that. So yeah, I didn't really have to unlearn. In fact, I'm so glad, with every experience, to be honest, Aman, I think every experience
Mm-hmm.
has helped me understand what the competitive advantage would be for me
Mm-hmm.
to pick up
Right.
and take to my next my next role or my next activity or project or initiative or company.
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting. And the thing that you mentioned that you completed the entire loop of product packaging, could giving demos. I think that would be a very fabulous experience to have.
Oh yeah.
But
Yes.
yeah, but this actually leads me to my next question. Since you have been in B2B marketing for such a long time, and traditionally B2B has been a very, very relationship driven, a lot of personal interaction driven business. It involved, though I've not been a B2B marketer much myself, but I do hear Aryan talking about going on drinks and dinners, watching F1 races with potential clients, and then converting them over those meetings.
Yeah.
And and then at the same time, the world is moving towards digital. Uh, Internet is just there everywhere. COVID has just expedited that transition towards digital. So with this digital world coming into picture, how is it that the marketing for B2B is changing per se? Are there any radical shifts that we need to make for especially for B2B marketing?
Well, it's interesting you asked this because I'm trying to introduce something new at Trusted Family as we speak, and it's too soon to talk about it. But it's been
Mhm.
based off of a lot of research that I've been doing these past few weeks, and also talking to a lot
Okay.
of marketeers in the industry and a lot of senior executives. And what I think
Mhm.
that is going to be really important going forward is what we call community led growth.
Okay.
And I insist on the word community because I know it's a broad term. It's been beaten around a
Mhm.
little bit here and there. But I think going forward, at least in the next few years, people and
Mhm.
companies and businesses, especially that are focused on growth, will actually
Right.
grasp an audience does not mean the same thing as a community. And building a community is a whole new ball game. And
Right.
community as such will finally hopefully and finally get a seat at this table that we all talk about, the
Mhm.
proverbial table, following in the footsteps of things like customer success and how customer success was even a decade ago. And
Right.
it will become its own sort of department or a function within growth
Mhm.
organizations and growth focused companies. And there will be newer roles like head of community, chief community officers, and other community leadership roles, which we are actually seeing in Europe, and we're seeing that with some of the up and coming startups. It's very interesting. But just going back two steps, what you mentioned
Yep.
about relationships, and one of the things that I often feel from my own personal journey is how much it has helped me to build my own network of supporters and mentors and advocates, and this is not just about bringing in business and bringing signing off clients, but even for my own personal growth as a marketeer.
Mhm.
I think
Right.
and this is something I would love to share with everybody because it is I think it's invaluable to connect with people in your industry,
Mhm.
in your domain of work or your expertise, whom you can bounce
Right.
ideas off of. And I know it sounds easy. It's easier said
Right.
than done, but it has taken me a lot of consistent effort over the years to find these mentors, to find these peers and seniors who I would love to be in touch with, I would love to learn from, I would love to engage with, and then constantly
Mhm.
also find ways to engage them. And today you have platforms like LinkedIn, which is, to be
Right.
honest, it's significant. I mean, the value that the platform can add to you is I mean, it's phenomenal. And it is important also to seek out peers who will laud your work on your behalf, because you need that network, you need to build that circle of trust for yourself. But yes, I mean, going a little back then further into the whole idea of community, and
Mhm.
a lot of the research that I've been doing has led me to believe that more and more businesses and more companies will start building what we call communities of interest, rather than just support communities or customer communities that you see today. And this will enable
Mhm.
their communities to also reach a much wider audience and eventually become, what we call as revenue generators, and not just be seen as cost centers. And that will be it will be super valuable for marketing also, because look, what's happening now is there is going to be, and it's continuing to happen now, there's a fair bit of consolidation of tools that are happening. We're currently in this
Right.
golden era of community engagement and event related tools, but what I'm learning now from all this research is the next decade or so we will see a lot more big players who will start to lead, who
Mhm.
will acquire competitors and ultimately win. We'll also see a lot of existing companies like, your Salesforce and your Slacks of the world invest more in community by acquiring some of these companies that are being built right now. So in a nutshell, I
Right.
think, community and the community marketing or community led growth marketing will be important. It'll be significant in the journey, and I think it's in some shape and form it's going to add a massive dimension to how B2B marketing is done today.
That's very interesting because community has traditionally been the forte of B2C companies. You always had like the LinkedIn communities and Facebook communities.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be very interesting. I would keep following Trusted Family to know the updates on what's happening on the community front. This is very interesting and a personal learning opportunity for me as well. So moving ahead, so you did mention that there are a lot of tools and consolidations which are happening in this era. So specifically, if you look at it from a marketing perspective, what are the tools that you feel are must-haves for any marketing professional? If you had to, be it B2B, be it B2C, what are the tools that you use? And along with those tools, what are the biases that one should avoid? Because of course, tools are one aspect of things. They give you the quantitative aspect of marketing, but the qualitative aspect comes with own human biases. So how do you manage both of these aspects?
So I'll tell you what, I have, over time, I've become a fan of less is more. I mean, today you can get lost in the number of tools and really how cool they are, because each tool is so incredible and you want to use it because you want to try it out and you're super excited about it, right? Your intellectual curiosity is through the roof. But I mean, it has taken me a lot of painful, introspection to figure out that less is really more. So today, for instance, at Trusted Family, we've consolidated again a fair bit of stuff. And I'll give you an example. Initially, we were using a one CRM platform, a data management platform. Our reports were all over the place and all of that. When I stepped in, we had a management discussion and we laid out a strategy, exactly what were our high level objectives were. So we essentially, we took out all of those tools and we replaced the whole stack with HubSpot. And today, HubSpot is my go-to CRM. And that's not just for marketing. It's for marketing, sales, customer success. And we also have some product folks who are using the platform to understand how to have customer interviews, to understand how different customers are using our platform to book meetings and things like that. So that's become our one-stop sort of shop platform. Then we wanted to do something around project management, because like I said, we're a very small company, but that also means we run a lot of smaller projects, group projects, where a fair bit of cross collaboration between functions is required. So we use Trello, and we use Trello a lot. It's very extensively used in the company for any kind of project management, any kind of milestone tracking, high level project tracking, etc. Similarly, we wanted one place for the whole company, for all of the company's internal information to be easily circulated, shared, commented, anything that you can think of in terms of collaboration. So we took to Notion, and today we love Notion. We absolutely love it. So today, if a new employee was to join Trusted Family, whether it was in marketing or sales or customer success, he or she could just go to the Notion, the Trusted Family Notion home, and they would see literally section headers and folders for everything. So you could just spend a whole day on that Notion page and get your onboarding download of what's going on in marketing, what's going on in sales, who do you need to speak to in customer success, who do you need to reach out for HR policies, anything. Similarly, we use Slack a lot. For us, internal communication is so important, and we've redirected all of that communication onto Slack. So today, in fact, we are more of a Slack first kind of a company. We have emails, we use Gmail inboxes, but we use that very, very, very briefly. For instance, I would use an email today only to engage with an external partner, an agency, or a client. And even now, with agencies, we've started onboarding them on Slack. So we create private Slack groups for agencies where we completely shield all of our internal communication and just give them access to one side of the conversation that we need to listen into. So that's how we've really consolidated, and it's taken a while. But I think even as marketeers, you need to understand what your objectives are, right? You need a CRM, you need your data management platform and your marketing automation to be set. And there are excellent tools out there. For me, HubSpot has worked very, very well in the past few years, and I'm a big fan of HubSpot in general. Similarly, you need a great a design tool. So one of my favorites is Canva. It's super easy to use, even with the free
Right.
option of the software. It's got incredible features in terms of building a quick logo, a poster, a PDF, any kind of design related activity
Right.
is very quick, easy to implement, intuitive, and you can get up and running with it in no time. Same goes for if you
Right.
are a content writer. I would just use. I know a lot of people like Grammarly, but I also like the Hemingway app a lot. I think it's an excellent app to just make sure your
Yeah.
sentences are concise, comprehensive, easy to read, not very long, are using the right formation of words, the string of words makes sense, everything. So I think it's just like I said, I think today we are
Right.
overwhelmed with the kind of tools that there are, and there are some great tools. Okay, I can go on and on. I have a full
Yeah.
Excel spreadsheet of amazing tools that I want to
Yeah.
constantly use, but I have my steady state favorites, and these are all my favorites. And this is what I tell my team
Yeah.
also to use, and now they are very well versed with these. Anything additional that comes on is a bonus. So
Yeah.
that's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. There is always a laundry list. We are still struggling over here at Seekho, where we use, every team has their own set of tools, and I would love to have a collaborated one single source of truth kind of tool.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I agree completely. I completely agree with Canva point as well. I think we have made it mandatory for everyone in marketing team to know Canva. Be it anyone should be able to design a social media post or an ad copy using Canva. That's like a basic requirement we have set up for every. Uh,
And
so
in fact,
my
just on
next
that point,
moving.
sorry,
Uh, yeah,
go
please go ahead.
ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I mean, I just wanted to say
I was
that.
actually moving on to the next.
Sorry if there is a lag in the conversation. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. No, I was just about to say something that you said was very true, because with my team, I feel it was very important for me to get them hands on everything that we do as a team. So today,
Right.
a tool like HubSpot or a tool like Canva or a tool or any other marketing tool that we use for campaigns and content, everybody in my team knows how to use those tools. So it's
Right.
we've taken to learning also a lot within the team, and we
Mm-hmm.
all know how to use, say, a landing page builder on HubSpot, or how to
Right.
draw up a cross object report on HubSpot, or how to design a quick poster on Canva, for instance, or how to run
Right.
how to measure your Google ad performance on Google Analytics, for instance.
Right.
We've made sure that everybody in the team, although
Mm-hmm.
they may have distinct roles and responsibilities, everybody has access to all of the tools and also understands how the tools are used, has also used it once in a while besides what they do regularly. So yeah, I think I really liked what you said, because I think that's also important. These tools are
Yeah.
really intuitive, they're easy to use, so they're not very complex in terms of, you don't have a big learning process there.
Right. Right. Uh, Cool. So I think we are already slightly over time. I have a couple of more questions. I
Okay,
won't hold you back for long.
sure.
So one thing which a lot of our users might be interested in, it would be, you have moved from India, you studied here, and then moved to Brussels. So for anyone who has studied or in India, what are the possible ways to work in, say, Europe or any of these countries? What would
Okay.
be your suggestion?
Um, I might sound a little bit like a HR recruiter at this point, so bear with me. Because this is it's not a straightforward question to answer. Um,
Right.
I'll tell you, Aman, what really worked for me is
Hmm.
network.
Right.
And on top of that, being very, very clear about what my near term and long term professional goals are. And I often talk about this as an exercise, but I love putting my pen to paper. And I've done that on, every time I had that tipping point moment that I was talking about,
Right.
I have done this
Yeah.
exercise for myself. What do I want to
Right.
do in the
Hmm.
next, I don't know, 18 months, 3 years, 6 years. And by what do I want to do? I would literally list down the high level responsibilities that I want to hold, the kind of work I want to do, even to the extent of it's almost like building my little manifestation kit, like this is the
Right.
kind of role I want to do, this is the kind of market I want to work in, these are the kind of high level responsibilities I want to hold in that position and all of that. And then
Right.
I've sort of reverse engineered things, and that's where the whole
Mm-hmm.
network help comes in. I think it was important for me to thankfully I was following the right people, I was talking to a lot of right people. I've done a lot of cold messaging also on LinkedIn. Like back in the day,
Right.
I would draft a very personalized message to
Mm-hmm.
a CEO of an up and coming startup based in Berlin, and I would
Right.
tell him, I've written to him saying, hey, I'm a marketeer. This is what I
Mm-hmm.
do, but here's where I want to be, and I want to just pick your brain for maybe 15 minutes on your calendar just to understand what my paths there could be and how I could go
Yeah.
about it. And I've had so many of those conversations, and you'd be surprised how people are. People are genuinely very welcoming, very approachable.
Right.
They're also very
Yeah.
encouraging. But the key there is, and what really worked for me is every time you want to draft a message to somebody or you want to reach out to somebody because you're doing something that you want to do at some point in your life,
Yeah.
you should be
Yeah.
very clear about why is it that you're reaching out to them and what is it that you seek from them. I, don't,
Right.
I think you've all probably heard of Ankur Variku, right? So I
Yeah.
met Ankur at a random tech B2B conference in Delhi many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me his email address saying at any point in time, if you ever had any doubts or you wanted some advice, you can always write to me on email and I will respond to you. So I
Right.
think 2 years ago, I actually wrote to him because I had an idea and I wanted to bounce it off with him. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
kidding. He actually responded to me and he asked me two questions on that email. He asked me, the first question he asked me was, I'm happy to help you. Tell me what it is that you're seeking from this conversation. What sort of help do you want from me? Very simple, very clear. He
Right.
said to me in clear words. The second question
Right.
was, how do you think, how would you take this to market? So it was an idea and I can't talk about it yet, like I said, but how would you
Right.
take it to market? So he gave me two questions in response to my email, and then we
Right.
further exchanged a few more messages there. But I think it really all
Yeah.
starts with that. I think it really boils down to that. People are willing to
Yeah.
help you. You can find mentors, but I think it's important to identify who you want to learn from, and what is it that you want to learn from them, and how would you use
Right.
that information going forward. I think it's really just
Right.
about that.
I completely agree to your point. Building relationships and networks is very important. And your second point of being very clear with the communication. I have a funny anecdote back from my college days. Actually, like how you sent cold LinkedIn messages, I took it a step ahead. I actually ended up, this is my second year, so years, 7, 8 years back. And now in my naivety, I used to actually even ended up calling the offices and asking for to connect me to those people. I know it sounds very unprofessional right now, but most of the people actually did talk to me and were very, responsive. I just thought, I would send an email, then call them and ask them, what, I have sent you an email. Why don't you open it and read it? And yeah, because that's what I did. Right, I know, but it was very important. It was a good lesson for me as well, and I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, yeah,
Writing clear communication is just very important, and most of people do respond.
yeah.
Uh,
Just clearly communicating what I'm looking for has helped
yeah,
me so many situations, and I think it's my go-to mantra now. Like, be very, very clear in your head and in your words on what it is that you're seeking, and trust me,
yeah,
you'll find a way.
yeah. True, definitely. I completely agree. This just brings me to the last question. If you had to give some advice to yourself 10 years back or to someone who was just graduating from college, what would, and was, interested in the marketing profession, what would be your advice be? What would be your advice? What would you ask him or her to learn or focus on?
Hmm. I don't know. I think the whole learning bit is a bit tricky because it really depends on what role, what's the path that they want to take. But I'll tell you two things that I would tell my younger self, and I tell
Mm-hmm.
myself every day, even now, is you need to step out of your comfort zone, and you need to do that as
Right.
often as you can. And I'm not saying that in any small feat. I think it's important that you do that. You need to dip your toes in roles that aren't really fully within your job description, that you're probably also not fully prepared for, but you need to
Right.
work yourself up for the role or
Right.
the position that's actually ahead of you, and that's not that, and not really the one that you're in. Because the one that you're in, which is mostly on the job, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. You'll find a way. But I think what you really need to work yourself up is for what's ahead of you and the next big thing that's ahead of you. And the other thing
Right.
that I often tell myself, and I would also like ask everybody to do, is, you got to be confident in the knowledge and the intuition that you hold, but you need to also continue to stay curious, and you need to be learning. um, some of the things I've realized that happened to me was, if you find yourself in a position where you're not able to do any of these things, right, then you need to get out. You cannot
Right.
waste your time, your precious time, in a bad situation or a bad work or a bad job or a bad team or with a bad boss. You have to
Yeah.
have the courage to really be a change agent. And trust me, again, that takes a lot of courage. It does. It takes you to, like, again, stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit and really questioning yourself, like, why am I doing this, so I think both of
Right.
them are still interlinked, but you need to have that courage. You need to take that risk. You need to take that leap of faith, and you need to choose an environment where you can drive change from good to great, because
Right.
that's been one of the hardest things for me to do personally. As I don't know if you see that in my resume, but it's been very hard for me. And every time I felt like I wanted to try something new, I wanted to, like, push my boundaries a little bit, it has scared me. I've somehow found the courage in that fear to do it. And I think you need to do that, because that's the only way you'll do, like, bigger, bolder things, things that you're not ready for. But that's okay. I mean, you can, like, just jump into the ocean. You'll learn how to swim and survive, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that was really insightful. I'm sure all that introspection and manifestation that you do while writing and during your tipping points helps you come to these conclusions. But thanks a lot. So thanks so much, Nandita, for your time, and I hope this interaction is very useful for a lot of folks